But here we have to learn, okay, what does it mean to work with early stage technologies? And instead of believing that they have to be scaled, what does it mean to actually use our scale to drive their scale and instead treat them as a new way to truly connect to consumers? So that's PepsiCo 10. The next plank that we try to think about a lot is how do we challenge our existing realities? This is, for those of you who remember, this was something we did the last Super Bowl we were on air. This is something we did, and it was a PepSuber ad. So we took the Saturday Night Live character, PepSuber, MacGruber, and he ran this PepSuber, and so there was 3 ads that happened. And these numbers, by the way, are just estimates based on views, which are publicly available views, suggesting if each view cost 50 cents, what would the total value be? But the point here is that we ran 2 ads. We ran an Anthem ad, and we ran a Max ad on TV, and then we also ran digital. Media towards it, and that's the views that we drove, an estimated value of 50%. On the PepSuber, at 50 cents, sorry. On the PepSuber ad, all we had was a Twitter handle. That was the PepSuber character, MacGruber, going out and talking to people and trying to drive video views. And the proof was that we were able to drive almost the same amount of views for a lot less cost through Twitter. But the point was that how do we continue to do small pilots to prove out that there is a value in these channels and challenging what we traditionally believe to be the truth. You guys have probably seen the announcement we made with Foursquare, and then we announced our own location base with Loot, and then we have an announcement with Gowalla. The point of us in location is that we're challenging this reality that only our grocery store or store customers can have loyalty with the consumer in store. So now here's a unique opportunity for us to actually have the consumer check in and build a loyalty relationship with us in store versus only having to be through our retailers. And so we're seeing huge traction here. You're going to see 2 new programs launched very soon around this with key retailers. And the retailers are on board and happy about it too. On the Loot thing, what's great is that we also were able to provide massive amounts of data in terms of foot traffic to restaurants. So that was aimed on our restaurant channel. And we were able to look and say, okay, well, Tuesday is a slow foot traffic day for you. We'll shift and move our offers and promotions to that day to help build up foot traffic. But again, how do we challenge the reality that we can't own the loyalty in store with the consumer and proving that we can? Then I think integrating experimentation into your most important work. Pepsi Refresh Project, I'm not going to belabor it. I'm sure all of you guys have seen it at some level. Is everybody familiar with Refresh? Yeah, okay. So $20 million, yeah, right, who's not? Okay, so there's usually a high-paced video, which I've cut out of this one for you to save you guys the agony. But the whole point here is that, so Refresh just relaunched globally. So we just re-announced US, we announced Brazil, we announced Asia, and we announced Europe. But the point here is that we took what was pretty much a big experiment, and not a big experiment. I mean, we knew directionally what the success was going to look like. But this is the flagship brand. And we ran this digital program on the flagship brand, which means that everybody across the organization, from the CEO down, was laser focused on understanding how the digital channels were going to transform these platforms for us. And when you look at the success, I think right now to date there's been 46 million votes. I think it's on par to have more votes than the last presidential election by the end of this year. So it's just a massive piece of outreach. But again, we tried to do experimentation on our life's most important work. We do a lot of that. We're looking at a lot of that now on corporate. So how do we bring this sustainability and corporate message to life? We're changing the way that we do communications on the corporate. You usually think of corporate as not being a very engaged communications model. So we've changed that to a very engaged communications model. We rolled out 6 global sites. We have a massive PepsiCo.com with a continued content syndication and content co-curation and co-creation strategy with bloggers that we bring inside to see Making of the Dream Machine, which is our recycling platform, or or Tropicana, Carbon Footprint, all those kind of things. And this just shows a range of activities in the digital space that we're doing. And we're really focused on engagement, having real conversations with consumers around our sustainability platform. But we're also looking at, video. This was our Internet Week, and this was a hashtag promise event that we ran.
Hey, Sheryl Lazar coming back at you from Internet Week New York headquarters. Now, last night was the social climbing event, where social media influencers put down their iPhones and iPads to do some rock climbing. But now we are back at the HQ. It is a packed house for the hashtag promise event, brought to you by PepsiCo and Think Social, where companies are coming together to talk about corporate social responsibility. So why are we here exactly?
Well, PepsiCo is a key sponsor of this event because we believe very passionately that technology is a key enabler for us to bond with consumers better, to have a dialogue with consumers, and find out what it is that they need. And technology is a key way for us to bring our corporate social responsibility agenda, which is extensive, to life. People need to know that PepsiCo has a very robust corporate social responsibility agenda, because I think the more they understand that, the more they're actually going to bond with our company and become strong consumers for life.
So what the point of that event is how do we brought 6 companies around to have dialogues around how social media can drive social change. But how do we take what our core platform is, which is performance with purpose, the promise of PepsiCo, hence the promise event, and how do we drop that into the center of social media and almost into the hands of, our advocates as well as our potential badvocates. So we had 600 people who came out to this event, but massive amount of promises that were cast, so you could cast your promise for what we were going to do to help drive society forward. And now extended dialogue, we're launching another one. But again, we try to experiment with our life's most important work. One of the other pieces we launched there was a partnership with Sticky Bits, which I truly believe that the barcode is a huge opportunity for organizations, and we're moving on that a lot. But this was, look, if you want to see what the purpose behind each of our product is, scan the barcode, and it will give you a video that will tell you what the purpose is behind all of our products. And here's a video, which is the general video. I keep hitting next. Sorry, guys, back there.
Can a barcode tell a story? We think it can. In fact, we think it can be a universal purpose code, revealing how PepsiCo's brands are giving back. How Pepsi is funding people's brilliant ideas for refreshing the planet. How Lay's is partnering with local farmers. How PepsiCo's Dream Machines are helping veterans build their own businesses. And so much more. Soon, every time you scan a PepsiCo barcode, you'll be able to unlock these stories, support these efforts, and experience the promise of PepsiCo for yourself.
See what we did there? Universal product code to purpose code. That was slick, guys. So the point being is, using technologies like a Sticky Bits to help tell our story in new and engaging ways. And I think that brings me to my very last point, which I think a lot of times big organizations, folks in general, try to let perfect be the enemy of the good. And by this, I mean, if you look at the people who are winning in this space, they're this iterative culture. Google is an iterative culture. Zynga is an iterative culture. So much so that, when we talk inside is, we need to really build on the power of iteration and the power of portfolio. So when you look at Zynga, Zynga has 20 top social games. We don't have 20 top apps of any kind. Why? Because we always believe that we're going to be able to build the next big thing versus thinking about building small things and figuring out what works and then scaling up. And that's what I really admire about what the Zynga guys do. It's a bunch of developers and quants. And they test out little experimentation, and then if it works, they roll it across an entire portfolio. And so how do we get more into the portfolio and iteration mindset versus into we have to have only the next big thing? And then at the end, I think there's just a new communication spectrum that we're seeing. And that article, The Web is Dead, talks a lot about the fact that browser-based usage of content is over and that the world will now be on apps and on phones and in aggregators. And I believe that that's the truth, and we have to think about that. And we're believing that the world now used to look like paid and earned, then it went to owned, and now it looks like evolved. Co-creating and co-curating content, and especially utility, that can live in multiple places, and we believe you can do that alongside your consumer. So how do you start, co-creating that kind of content? When you look at Refresh, it really is a co-creation engine where people not only are campaigning for their passions, but they're bringing their network and they're doing it in every single place. And if you don't believe it happens everywhere, I've seen bumper stickers, postcards, stuff that is not even digital for folks to get folks committed around voting.